Hello, everybody. It's your old friends at Nerds of Us, and welcome back to the Best of All Worlds podcast, the show where it is indeed Best of All Worlds, where both watch along and review of a Star Trek episode that we have arbitrarily decided based on themes. And this time around, we have a theme of basically war and conflict, where we're seeing what's happened with humanity over the multiple centuries of Star Trek Apocrypha. And well, we decided to go for a prequel this time around, and it's in fact a prequel that's been, that at the time was slated by the legacy Trek fans in time for not being Star Trek and not being realistic enough,
So,
and not
sorry,
sticking to the source material. But enough about Section 31. We're actually watching Enterprise today, so
you know what? You know what? Blasphemy, I know,
can't.
but I haven't even watched it.
I can't, Jerry. I can't. I watched the Red Letter Media review, and that did it for me. I'm fucking done. I don't need to see anymore.
I just know it's. No, you know what? It's probably a good action movie. Let's call it spade a spade. It's probably a good action movie. It's not a Star Trek film.
No,
It's
no,
just
I
not.
would probably be on board with you on that one, but I can't just out of principle watch it because I still believe that Alex Kurtzman should be sent to The Hague for war crimes on TV and media. But you know what? That's
Listen, the way I've looked at it is as simple as this. Okay, when they were making Star Wars, I said give Dave Filoni the keys to the castle. They gave Filoni the keys to the castle. Okay, has everything been amazing? No, of course it hasn't been. But for the most part, they've been really fucking good. And I mean really, really good. All you have to do is give the keys of the castle of Star Trek to somebody who actually knows what they're doing, not Alex Kurtzman.
yeah.
Now,
Anyone
who was what was the guy who made season 3 of Picard? What was his name?
Terry Matalas, yeah.
Give it to Terry.
Yeah.
Look what he did with season 3. Look what he did. He probably gave us one of the best scenes in all of Star Trek when they finally went back onto the Enterprise D bridge and they went engaged and they came out of the starbase. I'm like, yeah, just give him the keys. Just give him the keys.
Yeah,
just do
that's
it. Just do it.
But unfortunately, Alex Kurtzman insists upon existing. So what can we do? In any case, I mean, I'm shocked to hear that the screenwriter for Terminator 2: Fall of the Machines is somehow still getting work. But sure, if that's the case, there's hope for us all. So yes, we are indeed jumping back onto Star Trek Enterprise for our latest one, and this is actually quite exciting in a sense because this actually kind of ticks two boxes for us technically, because as you may or may not know from the original Enterprise series, I'm saying this to the viewers, not Jerry, because Jerry obviously fucking knows this. But the second season of Star Trek Enterprise was very much oriented around the Temporal Wars, around the initial kind of conflict kerfuffle between the humans and Klingons. So essentially, the culmination of season 2 was that kind of being, I wouldn't say really being put to bed, but at least a little bit of a truce being established. And the way the truce was established was by a much bigger problem emerging quite literally on the horizon. So this episode is The Expanse, where the Xindi come into play, or at least I don't think actually they're named at this point. It was just the way they later become known as the Xindi. And this episode is essentially the platform for which season 3 will take off on, and quite a fucking platform at that, to be honest.
Oh God, yeah,
yeah, probably one of the hottest Star Trek episodes you'll ever get.
Definitely, especially for Enterprise. For this gave everybody like seriously high hopes for the next season. And I will say the next season is probably the best season, or one of the best seasons at least out of the 4 seasons of Star Trek Enterprise. It is absolutely action packed. You get so many different types of episodes. You get so much stuff going on. It's absolutely brilliant. And it's sad that you go from this to season 4, which seriously drops down. There's episodes there going, what the fuck were they thinking? Although saying that, it is the season. It's the one season of Star Trek where there are more double and triple bills than any other show in Star Trek history. So it's like all the ideas they had for a 5th, 6th, and 7th season, they wanted to combine into one season because they knew they were only getting one more. So they put a lot into season 4. But season 3 for me is probably one of the best seasons of Star Trek because it's absolutely action packed. You get to see that even though humans had evolved and humans had gotten better at that, you then see when their backs against the wall and shit is constantly being thrown at them, just how far they will go. How broken can humanity get even in the 22nd century?
22nd century at this stage, yeah, in fairness, like so like yeah, and there was a nice bit of creative license there in a sense where like you because it's only like really realistically 150 years between us and them as it were.
Yeah.
The actual as it were the morality and ethics is there, but like there's still a little bit of an element. There's still a Neanderthal in us all is the best way to describe it. But yes, like, rather than hitting clubs with sticks, I think we better kick on with this watch
Yep.
along. So Jerry, are you ready to engage?
I am ready.
Excellent. So again, boys and girls and various other genders along the way. If you are unfamiliar with this show, then this is literally half watch along, half review. So if you want to jump along with us, press play when we do, and you'll get a running commentary of the episode. But if not, give us about 45 minutes on the video, and then you'll hear about all of our trivia and our review at the same time. And you'll see how this episode ranks up amongst all the other episodes we've done. And as you may have guessed from this long run of this series now, we have quite a strong few heavyweights on the list at this stage. So we shall see if the Expanse scales up to them or not. But until then, Jerry, shall we begin?
Let's go.
All right then. On three, two, one, engage. I got it right that time. You see, I threw you off the last episode, so now I've redeemed myself.
Like I will always remember the start of this episode. This thing kind of coming out of subspace. If
Mm-hmm.
if you're a human being, you know exactly what it's cutting.
Yeah.
You know exactly where it's cutting. And your initial thought was, they better not have destroyed Disneyland. That was the very first thing I thought.
They hit Disneyland but saved the Church of Scientology. This is bullshit. They truly are the villains.
And
Like
that
that's
was it. That was the entire start of that episode. And you're like, what the fuck just happened? So your first thought is, because of the conflict that they've had, is this a temporal thing or is it a
yeah,
Klingon thing? That comes out of subspace, and you're like,
could be
okay,
temporal. Yeah.
it's not very Klingon-ish, but it's green. And you're like, well, that's Klingon-ish. Have the
Hmm.
Klingons just attacked Earth? Is this going to be the first Earth Klingon war? You're like, oh, and it just goes completely left field. As soon as you get into it, you're like, fucking hell.
I think at the time I thought it was a Suliban because it had the same kind of color scheme, the kind of the copperish kind of reddish kind of color, you know. But again, as we discover, not the case. This is like new threat. This is how like they did the. This is akin to the Jemadar episode where they basically they drive a fucking ship into the galaxy into a galaxy class and say, yeah, new threat unlocked, bitches.
Yeah.
You know.
To me, like I remember that episode, like literally, it's called the Jem'Hadar, and
Yeah.
I remember seeing like my favorite ship, a Galaxy class, just being blown to bits. I'm like, how could you do that, you miserable, horrible bastards?
Yeah, you went to the time skip to
Blow up the station. I don't care. Blow the station. It's not a Galaxy class, bastards.
Yeah. Oh, that's some
Now,
CGI
now
on
straight away, you're like,
bottom
oh my
left.
god, it is the fucking Klingons.
Duras. Where have I heard that name before?
I don't know. I think I remember two. I remember these two really nice ladies.
Oh, they're fucking weapons. They are. You probably will. Just spoilers. We watch the next generation. One thing that Enterprise does quite well, compared to the other Star Treks, is throwing in some new camera work.
Yeah.
The floating cameras, the shake, little bit of shakes, a little bit of nervousness in there. It does this stuff quite well.
Mm.
And there's a man himself. I'm back in those days. That was top speed.
At this point, the crew are very much still innocent, I would
Yeah.
say. They're very, clean and proper and,
Mm.
you know, and it's from this moment onwards that things start to change for everybody.
Yeah. Where is she going to? Venezuela. Also, not all of Florida is gone. It's a cross section. Like you could be like if she north, is she Central Florida? Okay, if she's Central Florida, you're fucked. But that's.
Mhm.
I mean, what has humanity done to deserve this? Oh wait, Trump.
Hmm.
Yeah, we deserve that, actually. That's why they hit Florida. They hit Mar-a-Lago first and just went all the way down. So good job, aliens, but you missed.
This whole episode, you have the fucking clue what's going on.
Yeah, there's an air of mild panic around. Like I don't know who's friend and who's enemy anymore.
Is it the
Even
Klingons? Is it the Suleiman? Is it someone else? You just don't know
oh,
what's going on.
oh.
The one thing I'll say is the CGI in Enterprise for their ships and stuff like that is fantastic. It's out of this world.
Yeah,
But the Suleiman is bollocks.
oh yeah. Like I was just pointing
It's
out, like there was
so
some like
bad.
it's
It's
one of
so
those things
bad.
where the more close up you see them, the more you see the puppet strings. But like anything
Yeah.
far away is fine. I will say I love the Sulaban design.
Their
Just
design is fantastic.
just straight
Absolutely
away, you're looking
fantastic.
for something that is as alien as possible, and you cannot get any more alien than that.
And the guy who plays Silic,
Yes.
he just he's just so good.
Yeah.
It's
He'll
it's
come up later
almost
on
like
as
the
a guest
role was
star.
made around him rather than him taking on the role.
Oh,
It
for sure.
really
I have no
does,
doubt
yeah.
about that. So, Future Guy. This I believe be our first exposure to Future Guy on this series. In terms of the show, in terms of this series, our series as opposed to Enterprise.
Oh yeah, an actor who's been in many roles in Star Trek.
Mm,
I'm sure we'll talk about that later.
we will. His voice is so distinctive.
Hmm.
It's like he can't. He's one of those ones who can't hide his voice, especially considering like yeah. Well, he'll come up later on the guest starring, and I shall gush over him at that point. Because I am you. That would have been if they were able to pull off that twist, it would have been fucking amazing.
I've always thought two theories about that guy, about
Yeah.
who he really is. That he was like a rogue Section 31 type human from the
Mm.
future, or that he was a Vulcan.
Okay. You
But
do
we
know what
never
the
found we never find out.
you do know who it was meant to be.
No.
It's Archer.
It's meant to be Archer.
Meant to be Archer, yeah. In season, basically the Ronald D. Moore was said on Twitter that the intention was that Future Guy would be revealed to be Archer at the end of the show, end of the run, to basically say that he basically did all the machinations to ensure that the Federation actually exists and Starfleet is formed. Because basically, from whatever Future Point Archer is as Future Guy, the Federation doesn't form. So he's done all the machinations to make sure that actually does occur.
Yeah. Oh, here we
So that's what
go.
it was. Yeah, I think it's something to do with the fact that like in canon, President Archer disappears and doesn't actually. There's no pronounced the there's two like lines of thought where the President Archer apparently died on the launch of the USS Enterprise,
Hmm.
but he's also was like there's also another one where
It
like
was a
he's pronounced.
transporter accident or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, basically, yeah, it was something along those lines. Yeah, weapons. Yes, we have them. Fire them. Oh God, there's more of them. Shit, we weren't expecting any more Earth vessels. That must really hurt for Klingon to say withdraw.
He didn't say retreat. He only said withdraw. So
Yeah.
that's their way of saying retreat.
Mm-hmm. There's no such thing as a retreat in the Klingon dictionary. Mm.
Science director has determined that time travel is impossible. Are you willing to risk
On Earth, yes.
all
On Earth, yes. I never liked San Francisco anyway.
seems like a small price to pay if there's one chance in a million? He's right. You know where these coordinates he gave you are? We'll fly about a 3-month trip. They're inside the Delphic space. What's that? The region of space, nearly 2,000 light years across. Vulcan ships have entered it, but only a few have returned.
He's a little bit rattled, actually, there, Sarek. Saval, I should say. Not Sarek.
The most emotional he's ever sounded.
Yeah.
That's a large company expense. Every criminal on board had been anatomically inverted. Their bodies splayed open, and they were still alive.
I'm sure the effect took that well.
Jesus.
You haven't seen an inside out Vulcan? Once, actually, yeah.
Yeah, that was a crazy night.
Yeah, quite logical, actually.
Ah, but we all laughed afterwards.
I just look, the place was sprayed with green. Like you had to be there.
I'm sure that was just your man getting sick.
Hey! Someone blew up a Suliban, and we couldn't tell what the difference was at that point.
Jesus Christ.
But he had a very cool effect, so what? Gotta give him the benefit of the doubt. He just had a commanding voice, like mine.
Hour in this piece was synthesized within the last 20 years. This one about a year earlier. What exactly are you trying to show us, Captain? Well, the answer to this piece. Good point, Jonathan. Getting to it.
It says boobs, Archer.
Guess this one's not working out.
That was very logical of you to bring two scanners.
Yes, they got distant. See, I haven't the slightest idea. But that doesn't change what's on these scanners. This fragment's from the future. Unless you have another explanation.
You're looking at it upside down? A standing guard over the debris. It's not going to blow up again, lads. Relax. Now he might do.
There's no way to find it.
Ah, there we are. Give the ship a nice little scrub down.
Some of our technology is still more advanced.
I believe you say na 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 na.
Well,
It's mad though
Not
the amount of lies that the Vulcans say in Enterprise, but yet they can't lie.
yeah. Oh no, they can't lie, but my goodness, they can gaslight to beat the fucking band. Of course, gaslighting wasn't invented in 20 until 2012. So the writers just went for it. Oopsie.
Kind of strange that a working would be so interesting, but I feel
Because then you don't feel every 7 years. Sir, that is racist.
examinations. There's only one of them for months. It's not a pathologist, it's a psychiatric analyst. The law sure is persistent. What do they want you to do? Come back with proof that I'm out of my mind? Come to my sick bay under false pretenses? Where are medical acts? I'm just doing what I was told to. Well, I'm telling you to get the hell off my ship. You wouldn't mind, Flox? I'd like you to escort our guest to the airlock.
Because the first time Phlox actually gets angry until you catch a
Yeah.
mirror universe.
Yeah, the CGI here isn't great.
No. For some reason, Trip and Tucker are they are late in oil for some reason.
Mhm.
Reed and Tucker, I should say. Ooh, new ship unlocked.
That we're to proceed with our new mission.
It's mad to think that it's got taken so long to make one ship in
Yeah.
Star Trek, whereas Utopia Planitia leading gets them out in a couple of days at this point in the 24th century. Like,
Yeah. I suppose they also made the point that like they kind of they're basically like proper boilerplate ships though as well. Like it is just like we don't have the resources or the time to make fancy ships. Just make the same one over and over again and just get the numbers back up. Which kind of makes sense. It's a bit of a cop out for the shit designs, but like kind of makes sense.
Yes. Maybe all much like again, crossing an expanse. But to where this expansion is not even a hint. This weapon, they're building. Say how long it's going to take them. I don't think you would have warned us if we didn't have a chance of stopping.
And that's kind of like I think that's the first like proper storyline hint that it's meant to be Archer, because why would the future guy say otherwise?
mhm.
Of course they would. They look a bit like M&Ms. They're delicious.
I think in terms of Enterprise, the
Mm.
only true Vulcan in the entire show was T'Pol.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Everyone else showed emotion,
Mm.
or they didn't play the role a like a Tuvok or even a Spock.
Yeah.
They played them more emotional than ever. So she was the only true Vulcan in all of Enterprise. I think so, anyway. Even Saval is from the very get go. He's emotional. Very get go.
I think it is an interesting point in a sense where like, we're making the point about like how humans are not quite there yet in the 22nd century. But that's like Vulcans aren't there either. Like they clearly have some level of hostility or perhaps a bit of what's the word? Insecurity
Animosity,
about the
mate. Yeah,
humans.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
even
like
that you've got that, and then you've got their issues with the Andorians.
yeah,
You know,
exactly, yeah. So like they are still like a little they have that level of like paranoia and xenophobia, but as I said, the key about them is that they've rationalized it. They've accepted like it's no, no, we need to keep surveillance under over these alien races because we don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Whereas by the 23rd, 24th century, they kind of don't care. You know
Mm.
what I mean? Like it's a lot more cooperative.
Yeah.
You know, actually, season four actually deals with that very, very well and kind of
Yeah.
shows that there's actually a lot of inner politics in Vulcan
Mm.
at Vulcan. So that's great. That's what kind of what you wanted to see in this show.
Exactly. That scene that we just saw there, that is one of my favorite scenes from this episode. For the simple
Yeah.
fact is, it's the very first time you see photon torpedoes on a
Yeah.
Starfleet ship. You're like, yeah, finally, here we go, baby. We got the phasers, now we got the photons.
What I love as well is the fact that like now they've actually started to gear up for combat. Like they're talking about like they're getting the Makos on now and they're getting torpedoes and it's just like yeah they're all not really comfortable with it, but they also kind of like realize yeah that's kind of where we are. And again, as we get into the review of the episodes, that's there's a common theme with that with real life events.
Hmm.
Maybe you should pay more attention to upgrading your weapons. So you can blow the hell out of these batches you wind up.
I hate when we're squirrel.
Right? In my mind about commanding this mission. For you to see what will be faced. The Vankara was in the Delta France for less than 2 days when we received the distress alert. This transmission arrived 6 hours later.
Hmm. Look a bit just a bit soft lads, aren't you? Just broadly speaking.
Vankara destroyed. There was no indication of a malfunction or an attack. Suggesting proved stuff. I'm suggesting you consider this mission.
Like, now, please. I don't want you to be rubbing Vulcan blood on your face. It's doesn't suit you.
It was really nice to see her come back
Yeah,
in lower decks.
it was nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Because she
yeah.
hasn't acted in years. She's
No,
been retired for years.
mm,
And the
partly
fact that she
because of how
came
she was treated on the show.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that she came back to do it, like I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And it was her. She was 100% back in that
Mhm.
character. Brilliant.
Yeah. Again, it's the same kind of like almost like there's a redemptive quality to that in the same way with Robert Beltran coming back as Chakotay just for Prodigy, and the fact is like you can clearly tell that there is such a gear shift in the term of the production behind the scenes. As much as I slagged off Alex Kurtzman there for what he has done, and he knows what he has done. Overall, like the people involved in Star Trek from a production standpoint are substantially nicer people than they were back in 2000. And I think that's a kind of a culture change overall in most TV shows as well. Like you could say, like it's been a massive, like widespread change for obvious reasons because of obvious people,
Mm.
and it's nice to see that like a lot of networks and services like that have followed suit. Um, it's no surprise that the likes of, say, Jonathan Frakes is so integral to the process because he knows what it's like to have worked on the show for so long, but he
Yeah.
also knows culturally how to set standards, how to set, the right kind of like principles, let's say. And, again, sometimes it helps as well to have Eugene Roddenberry there as well, as daft the sounds, because sometimes you just need like a few the voices in the room to say this is what Star Trek is about. It's a collaborative thing, community, whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
and let that come across on screen. So if some people are a fan of characters, they want to see the characters back.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that at
Definitely.
all.
Mm.
Now we have to. It helps if you justify and give them a valid reason for them to be there. Otherwise, it's just fan service for the sake of it. There has to be a narrative reason why T'Pol is there or why Chakotay's in Prodigy, and both of them are perfectly fine. Can I just say that futuristic whiskey bottle is hilarious? Like, it doesn't look like they're drinking whiskey. They're drinking fucking diesel cleaner. Like,
Yeah. But
passes that J
to
forty
me, though,
there with you.
when you see it like that, it looks like it's part of a set
Yeah,
because
doesn't
it's because of straight edge on it. I'm like,
it?
what do you mix it with? What's this other thing that you're mixing it with that it has to be partnered in a bottle? I'm like, I'm actually interested now.
There's text on it, and I can't see what it is.
Mm.
It's really annoying me.
Now, the only thing is the liquid to me looked like a whiskey or a brandy or something like that.
I thought
Whereas
bourbon personally.
I've been watching another kind of very Star Trek inspired show actually, which is Boston Legal. The
Oh,
amount of Star Trek guest stars in it is incredible. But whenever Alan Shore and Denny Crane, which is of
mm,
course Denny Crane is played by William Shatner,
yeah,
whenever they're drinking whiskey, it just looks like yellow tea.
yeah.
And it doesn't look like whiskey, whereas this looks like whiskey.
Mm.
Like maybe it was, maybe it had a little drop.
As that it is, sometimes it is just it's either I think that the trick is basically it's either iced tea or apple juice. That's
Mm.
normally what because again it's not just a cat like not like looking like it to us is a sense, but it's how the camera catches it as well.
Yeah,
You know, not to get too scientific, but you got different viscosity, different light scattering there as well. So like while it might not look like that again, Boston Eagle that could have actually been whiskey there, but because of the shoot of the lighting in the scene, it doesn't look like it looks too pale.
yeah.
Could be vice versa thing. Like honestly, I'm not even dressed for combat, and they have the nerve to shoot at me here. I love the little smirk on Reed's face, like yes.
Oh, he's been dying to fucking fire these torpedoes.
For the fourth time. Can make it to both in space before they get their engines back. They'll think twice about getting us any more trouble.
Yeah, again, there's no time for fucking around here now at this stage. I like Chef, but he asked me some strange questions like, have you ever wanted to write your hands in wet cement?
Fucking Jonathan Frakes.
It's like, you're wrong. It never happened. Literally nothing. Yeah, I don't think we have a say in the matter. Like,
Ooh.
the plot thickens.
About
Hmm. I'm gonna leave it to a vote. Maybe I'm trying to do the maths of like what that means. Like, what? You know that Mayweather's a real professional helmsman because with the way he's positioned behind Archer's but right ahead of Archer there, he could have done so many eye rolls and chose not to.
Yep.
Like if Ortegas is there, holy shit, the sass off that one would be fucking unreal. Like, okay, Captain. Ooh, purple.
Expanse is surrounded by thick layers of thermobaric clouds. When the last ship went in, about 6 hours to get through. Looking at long-range sensors. Yeah. Point to info, Travis. Get in.
Here you go for the mild concern.
And at this point, you think, oh, the episode's over.
No, God forbids. To be continued.
Mhm.
Never in doubt.
Never happened.
You're wrong.
Complete fabrication.
Anyone feeling stabby yet? No? No? Anybody? Just checking? Just checking? Maybe a little bit of paranoia, a little bit of annoyance, a little bit of this, a little bit of that? No?
Keep them apprised of opposition. Yes, sir.
I might have pressed the wrong button. It's like that. Those are not buoys.
A little bit overkill there from Duras.
Yeah. Wait, overcompensating for something there. Big bathlet. Look closely. Lol, no. It just hung up on me. Well, this is wanted level raised.
Keep firing. Expanse is less than 5 minutes away. Maybe they'll turn around like springs. I wouldn't bet on it. Your torpedoes aren't having the same effect as last time. There's just that it offshoots forward. I'll let this car penetrate them.
Honestly, lads, red alert, get off the fucking catwalks. Like this happens all the time.
Minimal shielding. Go on, L4 at the speed. Rise. That's not the mission you find. Captain Archer to all hands. Hold on.
And get off the fucking catwalks. Hard handbrake turn coming up. Ah, so it's a loop-de-loop, not the an L4. Okay, gotcha. Hmm.
Bye bye, Duras.
Womp womp.
The way Enterprise just flies through the debris, you're like, fucking hell.
As I said, this is the first bit of the ruthless streak you start seeing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
See what's in there.
See you next season. All right then. And that's how season 2 ended. That's basically leaving the Enterprise literally into the unknown. Because like even in terms of all the other works before this point, Delve Expanse has never been mentioned. So like there's no point of reference at all. This is completely, as it were, new bit of space that they're working with. And yeah, fucking sign me up, like essentially. That was like what like it's nice to see like a season finale that kind of like, isn't a cliffhanger, but it's just like here's what to expect next year, essentially. And it's just like it's not keeping you on tenterhooks as such, it's just a sign of things to come, which I think is great. But yeah, that was the episode. So that was the Expanse in very much in live and living color. So really enjoyable episode, I thought. First off, anyway, an adequate episode to sign off a series, and yeah, so we shall get into review shortly, but we do have a little bit of housekeeping to do, Jerry, in terms of that. Now, obviously, we have our two kind of, shall we say, trivia segments, if you like. The first trivia segment, where it would be normally about the ships that we see in this episode, but we've already technically seen both of them, which was the Enterprise and NX-01, because we have done Enterprise episodes already on this show, and we technically have done the Klingon Bird of Prey. Now, this is, of course, the 22nd century version of it. Not much is different, really. It's a bit more scaled back, shall we say. The engines are kind of like, like dorsal fins almost. Kind of like the, what's the word? Like, I suppose like it's like the top of the body, if you like. But not much has changed. The overall design is pretty much the same. We have it down as one of our best ships that we could possibly see. And the NX-01 isn't too much of a too much of a slouch either. So everything else are all little auxiliary vessels we saw from the little skirmish with with the Suliban, or with the Durasha ships, I should say. So yeah, so we're going to skip past that bit and we're going to get to the guests among the stars. So this is where I challenge Jerry Soule on his knowledge of names and faces amongst all the people that we've seen so far. So I've taken a bit of what's the word? I've taken a quick section of all of them because there is obviously a lot of extras and names and stuff like that that have been that are in this episode. So we're just going to do a quick trace of these ones and see, do we need to worry about any of them at all? Some of these are kind of faceless, nameless characters, so we're going to skip those ones in particular because they're not part of the overall content, let's say. So there is still quite a busy amount of them though, so let's click through a couple of them. So we start off with Dan Desmond. He is the Chancellor, the Klingon Chancellor at the start of the episodes. So these are one and dones, Jerry. So we're going to fly through these. So Dan Desmond, who is still alive at the moment, he is 80 years old, and you will know him from a lot of sci-fi. It has to be said. You would know him from the X-Files. You would know him from Without a Trace. He's been in Cold Case. He has been in Sabrina and the Teenage Witch, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He was also in as well. In terms of movies, you'd know him from The City of Angels, School Ties, and Mississippi Burning as well. So quite a decent resume. Still going to this day, as I understand. But in terms of Star Trek, he just sticks on the Klingon headgear and says a few lines as the Klingon Chancellor. But that's all we need to see of him on that one. Next up then is Gary Bullock. And I will test you on this one, Jerry, because this fellow has been in Star Trek before. So he is one of the Klingon counselors in the start of the episode as well. He has appeared in Star Trek before.
I'm assuming you're talking about the guy who was talking beside the Chancellor.
Yes, the guy with the fourth goatee.
Yeah, when I heard the voice, I'm like, I know that voice.
Mm-hmm.
But from exactly where I know it from, I don't know. So, it's obviously not a one and done. So I'm going to say 2. Now I'm probably wrong because the voice was so recognizable.
Yes.
I'm going to say 2.
With 2.
Oh,
you're correct with 2. Yep. So yes, he's the Klingon counselor in this episode, but he also appears in Star Trek Voyager. However, I'm not expecting you to get it off the top of your head because he's on the prosthetics for this one as well. But he is the character Goth. If that rings a bell.
It does, but I don't know.
Yeah, no worries. So it's from the episode Rise, which is is in the 3rd season, towards the end of the 3rd season. Basically, there's a.
Oh, is it the Borg one where they're disconnected Borg?
No, that's Unimatrix 0.
Oh. No, I don't mean that. I don't mean that. I thought it was the one where Dakota had found a community of people who were Borg.
Oh, that one.
I thought it was that.
It's a different episode. In fairness,
okay.
No, this one is. So basically, he's on the prosthetics. He's an Etanian, if you like. And basically, Voyager comes to help out this planet and being bombarded by asteroids, and it turns out that this guy was actually controlling the asteroids with his ship, and he was basically used to invade the planet at the time. And once we find out what the plot is, his ship is destroyed, and he's dead, essentially, for all intents and purposes. There's no other way around it, let's be honest. But yeah, so he plays Goth in that episode of Voyager. So villain of the week, shall we say. In terms of Gary Bullock himself, you would know him better as in the Twin Peaks movie Fire Walk with Me. He is Sheriff Cable in that movie. So if you wanted to know what he looks like outside of the prosthetics, that would be a good example. Otherwise, he features a good bit in, again, the likes of the X-Files, and he's in RoboCop as well. RoboCop 2, I should say, as opposed to the original. And for some reason, he's Abraham Lincoln in Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not sure. Like, I mean, I would say that's a weird. That's a weird place to find Abraham Lincoln, but Abraham Lincoln's also found himself in space in the original series. So it's a
That's true, actually. Yeah. So the way
yeah.
you say it like that, yeah, fair enough.
So, I don't think we can really argue in a sense. Gary Bullock himself, unfortunately, passed away in
Oh.
2022 at the tender age of 80. Again, a fine career that he had from, I think he started off quite early, actually, if I'm double checking here. I think he started off in in 1989. So he actually had a decent run. It wasn't a career actor in a sense, but still a decent run nonetheless. And yeah, just a one and done in terms of this episode anyway. Another one and done we'll do is Josh Cruz, who played Captain Ramirez in this episode. So he's a one and done. We won't quiz you on him in particular. But yeah, he's quite a prolific actor himself, it has to be said. Again, one of those kind of faces you recognize in terms of, he pops up here, popped up there in terms of a role. So you might recognize him from 24, let's say. You might see him from NYPD Blue. A lot of made-for-TV movies as well, like The Big One, and he was in some sci-fi stuff as well. Some kind of like very kind of basic sci-fi stuff. But yeah, in terms of like his movie credentials, I'd say you probably know him most from Collateral, perhaps.
Oh, okay.
That's about it, I think. But yeah, just very much like pops in, does a role, leaves. Typical kind of day actor in a sense. So yeah, that is Captain. That is Josh Cruz. In terms of Captain Ramirez, in case you're wondering, he is the captain of the Intrepid in this universe. Of course, we know the Intrepid quite well because it ends up being the class that Voyager ends up being. In terms of anything else, we don't really see much of him outside of this. Would you believe? I think he is only a one and done in terms of the episodes. I think because then there's another captain that pops in when takes over the NX-02. But in terms of there's other apocrypha in terms of like alternate timelines and stuff like that. In some of the alternate timelines, I think it's in one of the yes, in the episode Twilight, he's relieved of his command of the Intrepid by Malcolm Reed. So there's a little hat tip to him later on. So there you go. That's a little fun fact for you. Next up then is I think we're gonna go with Bruce Wright for this next one. Now he is not a one and done, Jerry. So Bruce Wright is Ferrat in this episode, the fake Vulcan doctor, if you can call it that. So you have seen him in Star Trek before, but how many times?
No idea because I don't recognize the voice. I'm gonna go 3.
3 is a bit optimistic, unfortunately, Jerry. He's appeared twice
Okay.
In Star Trek. So obviously here is Ferrat in this episode of The Expanse, but he was in fact in Deep Space Nine as a Bajoran, in fact. So he is the adjutant to Shakar in
oh, he is. Yes, yeah.
Yeah. So
now that you say, yeah, the voice is like, yeah, okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's still a kind of like yeah. So he's basically like he's the one that like organizes the spring ball game and stuff like that. So you see him in the episode Crossfire. In case you're curious. Bruce Wright himself, again, a lot of X-Files alumni in this episode, weirdly. It's kind of a weird coincidence. I know it's like it was the style at the time, I suppose, but yeah, it's a mad one. Yeah, he pops up in a couple of series. So again, he's in the X-Files, he's in ER, Days of Our Lives he seems to feature in quite a bit, and in terms of, he's also been in JAG. He's in the movie Twister as well, actually, as the character Murphy. And yeah, you see him in Apollo 13 as well, and Speed. So again, a couple of little credits there, all the same. Right, and now we get to some fun ones, which I'm really looking forward to. So let's go with John Fleck. So he's the only one and done. Well, is he the one and done? He's not a one and done, actually. Oh, indeed not. So John Fleck. How many times has he appeared in Star Trek? You would know John Fleck in this episode as Silic.
Oh, right. So Silic, the actor who played Silic was now Voyager for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Probably Deep Space Nine as well. He was Deep Space Nine. Yes. I'm gonna go 4, but I think I'm wrong.
I'm gonna go with 4. Okay, so John Fleck, who is again one of these ones that's always almost constantly under prosthetics, but weirdly enough, like I don't want to be kind of like a guy in a sense, but like he has a face for prosthetics in a sense. He has a kind of like nice long face where like I say makeup artist going like, thank you Jesus for giving me someone with such geometry. And John Fleck has been 6 characters in Star Trek.
Jesus, okay.
Yes. Now, if you said 5, I would have given you 5 because one of them is uncredited. But I'll go through them one by one. He has actually been in Deep Space Nine 3 times. He's been in Voyager once. He's obviously been in Enterprise as Civic, which is probably his most prominent role, to be honest. But he actually started off in The Next Generation. Do you remember the episode The Mind's Eye?
Remind me.
It's the one where Geordi gets hacked by the Romulans to assassinate the Klingon ambassador.
Yes, he is the Romulan, isn't he?
He's Tyvak, yes. Yeah, so he's Tyvak. So that is actually his first prominent role in Star Trek. So then there's 3 different roles in Deep Space Nine. So
I know one. I know. Sorry, I don't mean to correct you because I know you're going to start naming them off. I know one, and it's another Romulan.
Yes,
and it was the episode the Arnhem Silent Legacy.
Yes, the
Section 31 episode
yeah.
on he played the Tal Shiar, the leader of the Tal Shiar who had Kuvats. Was it Kuvats disease?
Yes. The character's called Koval.
Oh, Kuvats syndrome.
Yes.
Kuvats syndrome. So Koval. So I knew he played a Romulan, but he obviously played 2 Romulans. But you're gonna have to give me the rest because I don't know.
Yep. No problem. Okay, so in the opening to season 2, the episode "The Homecoming," he is the Cardassian overseer. You know when Kira lands to rescue the Resistance hero. So the overseer that she talks to, that's John Fleck on the Cardassian prosthetics.
Okay.
Now he's not credited with that on the episode, but that is actually him under the prosthetics. He is also in another season opener. Weirdly, he's in the opener for season 3 of Deep Space Nine as the character Ornithar. Don't say it. He is basically Quark goes to visit him to get information on the Dominion. And he is of the race of... Oh, fucking hell. I don't know. Tell me. I know you're talking. I know exactly the character. Yeah, I'll let you with that one. So the race is called the Karemas.
Oh, yeah.
But yes, he arranges with transport for Quark. So in terms of like it's portrayed like his forehead basically comes up to start like ends here essentially, and it's kind of this kind of like Marquis wig that we have on him. Yeah, so that's him, all right. Yeah, and he shows up in that episode to hatch a deal with Quark, as you mentioned, Koval. But he is in the episode Alice in Star Trek Voyager. So this was a bit of again like Star Trek late run Star Trek Voyager was a thing. So this was the episode where Tom Paris was manipulated by some sort of like mysterious like shuttle that was found in a junkyard. And basically he's the character Abaddon, who is the owner of the junkyard. So he kind of has this weird kind of like
he sells him the shuttle, but he's like he really wants to get rid of the shuttle because it's kind of taken over. So exactly, I remember the character as well. Yeah, it's only when you say the character, you'd say the episode, like, oh no, I remember.
Yeah, exactly. And hilariously enough, Abaddon is also in Lower Decks. He's in a portrait in the background of Starbase 25, which is tremendous. But obviously, he's well known as Silic, really, for all intents and purposes. I suppose this actually gives us a good chance to talk about the Suliban as well. A really fascinating concept in terms of Star Trek Enterprise. It's not to say that the show needed something new or interesting, but it was great that there was something different for Star Trek Enterprise to latch onto. And having that kind of like, I guess, chameleon kind of gecko type of race was something that they haven't done yet. But now the advances with CGI, I know they weren't great in this episode, but they were advances, believe me, when we say that. And yeah, it was just nice to see them doing something like that. And again, he really played it quite well. Like he plays it very reptilian way, and he kind of has a very slithery way of talking and behaving. Like I said, it always helps when you have like an actor who kind of understands how to play the monster of the week type of idea, I suppose. But yes, in terms of John Fleck himself, he's been around a lot. He has been around a lot. One of those ones where again he's always seemingly under prosthetics in some description, and even then, like it's more of a case of like it's he could be just very disheveled, or he could be bald, it could be hair. Again, one of those really fluid faces. In terms of his most notable roles, he was the Doctor in Waterworld. He was also in the Orville as the Krill ambassador. And he's also the ambassador of KTZ in that one, in that show as well. So he's appeared a couple of times. He's Dr. Overlark in True Blood as well, and so he's had a few episodes in that. And then obviously you have he's also Gecko in Carnival as well, which was just about predated Enterprise. So yeah, he's been around. He's had a couple of entries here and there. But I suppose like where you see him the most would be in the series Murder 1, where he's a character Lewis Hines. So yeah, again, has a great career, and again, it's one of those ones where like it's unfortunate he's always on the prosthetics, because like it's actually one of those ones where like from the any race he's played, it's kind of hard to pick him out. Unlike this next fellow, where the voice very much gives it away. James Horan. Now, how many times has James Horan appeared in Star Trek?
I know he started in Next Gen.
Mm-hmm.
So he did Next Gen. He did Next Gen. He did Deep Space Nine. He did Voyager. He did Enterprise. I'm going now. Give me a little bit of help here. Higher or lower than the 6 of that Silic was?
Lower.
One, 2, 3. I'm gonna go 4.
5, Jerry.
5. Okay.
5. Yeah.
I know. Okay, so I know one was. It was an episode of Next Generation where there were a load of doctors, and he supposedly died, but he didn't actually die, and he was really still alive. Then he was a Jem'Hadar in Deep Space Nine, and then of course he was the guy, the Shadow, we'll say, from Enterprise. But the other two, I don't know. Okay,
right. Well, yes, you are correct in 3 of them. Obviously, he is the humanoid figure, as it says in the script, but I think everyone in the production of the show refers to him as Future Guy, which I think is hilarious. Just like one way to just completely break the illusion right there. You're correct in his first appearance is in the episode Suspicions, which is Beverly Crusher solves crime. So, in fairness, it's not the worst Beverly Crusher episode. There's substantially worse than out there.
Ghosts.
Let's hey guys, let's go out to a nice holiday in space Scotland. Yes, that sounds wonderful. Yes, he's the character Joe Brill, who tries to basically subterfuge everybody to steal their work. He does actually appear in The Next Generation again after that, and Suspicions was a very late episode in the run as well, but he is actually in this 2-parter Descent, and refreshingly enough, under no prosthetics at all. This is actually his regular face. He is Barnaby, who I believe is the stand-in for Worf when they all go down to the surface.
Yes. So he's a security officer, and again, this is another Beverly Crusher takes command type of situation. So he's a security officer who's like, yeah, we need to do more, we need to do this, and we need to do that. Yeah. I remember now. Yeah. Okay. So okay.
So you remember, like, he kind of acts contrarian to the young hotshot Tate character, who she tries to make a judgment call on like what to fire on the atmosphere, and apparently goes, I don't think so, woman, that sort of shit going on. So he's plays that quite well. But he actually is also in Voyager, would you believe?
Yes. Yeah. I knew he was Voyager, but I just didn't know what.
Yes, so he is the character Tosin, who's one of quite quite actually, he looks a bit like one of the Zindies. Actually, it looks like a very kind of prototype makeup for the Zindi reptilians. But if I describe it better, it kind of looks more insect.
Is this the Neelix episode?
Yes, I believe it is. Yes, Neelix's best mate pops up, and yes,
I know. Yeah, he was on the station, and he was basically wanted their warp plasma.
That's the one. Yes,
yeah,
exactly. Yeah, so that's him there, and you did guess right that he was one of the Jem'Hadar in Deep Space Nine. He actually appears in 2 episodes as the same character, which is Ikadika, I think it is,
from the internment camp.
Yes, exactly. He's in the internment
camp. The one really wanted to fight Worf.
That's the one, exactly. Well done, Jerry. So yes, and of course, then would we say is his most interesting role as future guy? It's kind of hard to say, because he's more.
Well, it's the one he played the most, really.
Yeah, I suppose that's actually a very good point. Yeah, it's his most prominent role. But yes, James Horan has been in a lot. It's fair to say. But James Horan also has the luxury of not only having a very good prominent face, very good for prosthetics, but he also has a phenomenal voice. And very much in common parlance is known more as a voice. So his I would say the currently most prominent role, or certainly the most popular role on the internet, is him as Skullface from Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. Which hilarious enough, I think if it was a live action game, he would probably play that character anyway, because it is literally just a skull, with barely any flesh on it. But the character itself is after playing the game myself and being a kind of a Metal Gear nerd myself, the character is played completely straight in the prologue to it, and then he's a bit of a more cartoonish in the full game, where he's a little bit very over the top and verbose. But there's all different points and reasons that we're not going to get into in this episode. He is also in all the Batman games, typically as Jack Ryder in all those games. So that's the character he plays in that. But he also plays a lot of the kind of generic NPCs and stuff like that. He's also in the Orville as Sazaron. I think he only he pops up in that for 1 episode. He plays Wheeljack in a lot of the Transformers cartoons as well, the more kind of the recent variants, let's say. And yeah, just a kind of a nice mix, but basically of being an actual actor, where he's in the likes of Criminal Minds and 24, and then being a voice actor where he's in literally fucking everything else. He's a very busy guy. It's actually quite impressive when you see the kind of scrolling down and seeing what things hasn't this fucker been on. It's kind of impressive in that sense. But yes, James Horan, a very prolific man in his own right, and well worth our time. Next up then now is a fun one. Daniel Reardon. He plays Duras in this show. How many other times has he appeared in Star Trek, Jerry?
I'm going to go 3. It just seems to be my number tonight. Let's go 3.
Well, it's a good thing you stuck to it, because 3 is the right answer. Now, can you tell me where he was?
No idea.
Excellent. Well, this guy has a very nice cross section, I have to say. He's appeared in Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and Enterprise. Obviously, I mentioned that Duras was his feature in Enterprise, but he started off in the Next Generation in the season 1 episode, Coming of Age. So, no. Coming of Age is the episode where Wesley goes to do the Starfleet exam, and he fails it just by a whisker, because
it's not his dad, is it? Is his dad the hologram?
No, not a bad shout, but no, no, he is the character Rondon. If you remember, there's a scene where Wesley is talking to the Admiral, and he bumps into this huge guy in a yellow uniform, and then he starts shouting at him, berating him, and then Wesley shouts back at him. And then he goes, I respect you, and moves on. Basically, Wesley copped on that he's a Zoltan, and because he had a webbed basically hand here, he realized that they all talk aggressively to each other as a form of politeness. So, that's very much a walk in place in that one. He's also in the episode Progress from Deep Space Nine, also in the first season. So you recall, it's the episode where Kira has to relocate somebody, or from there's like a homestead,
Yeah.
and they have to relocate him because it's going to be all knocked in for like a solar farm or something like that. So basically, he is the security deputy that's assigned to Kira to try and help the transition, and it doesn't go well. So yeah, that's where you see him as. But then obviously Joras is I guess it's his best role, if I have to say, between the three. I don't think some people really remember him as the guy that Wesley Crusher bumped into at Starfleet Academy.
No.
Shockingly enough. In terms of his other works, a couple of movies here and there. Again, another one that's done voice acting a good bit as well. He features a lot in Destiny, the series, the game series Destiny, as Brother Vance. You'll see him in a couple of acting as well. He's also in the the game Days Gone as well. Dishonored. He's also he's unfortunately in Mass Effect Andromeda, but he can't help that. Blame his agent, I guess. But yeah, in terms of his kind of episode or features on actual TVs and shows like that, a couple of like one and dones. He's the narrator of the Conan series, for instance. He's features in the movie Jingle All the Way and stuff like that. So yeah, a bit of a mixed bag in terms of movies, but certainly the voice acting is where he's trying to find his ultimate calling. So there you go. That's Daniel Reardon. We're nearly there, Jerry. 2 more left, and we start off with Gary Graham. Gary Graham is Soval in this episode.
Oh, Soval. Okay. 3. I'm just going to stick with 3. 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, technically cheating because you could count the mirror universe version of Soval as 3, but we're not going to do that.
No, don't do that. No.
But yes, Soval, and he is in Voyager as well as the character Tanis.
No, it doesn't ring a bell anyway.
Yeah, he's in it's a season 2 episode. He's actually in Ocampa. It's the episode Cold Fire. It's the one where Kess is having like these kind of like massive outbursts of like power and stuff like that, and then there's a colony of Ocampa there that basically help coach Kess through her powers, basically. So Gary Graham plays one of the Ocampa that basically helps Kess along with her development, let's say. But in terms of Gary Graham himself, pretty much an interesting one is Gary Graham auditioned for both Captain Sisko and Captain Janeway. Would you believe? Which is an interesting one. Yeah. But he has a couple of prominent roles outside of Star Trek. In fairness, he has one of those kind of faces that you'd recognize from other works. So you'd know him from actually, funny enough, he's actually done a lot of Star Trek fan productions as well. So he's done the Axanar production, which I think is still ongoing, as far as I know. I think it's still yet to be fully produced. But he was a strong part in that as well. But in terms of other entries and shows, he's in JAG quite a bit as Captain Ingles and also Captain Hockhausen as well. You'd also see him in Mantis as Captain Hedrick as well. So a lot of action stuff, actually. I suppose his main role outside of Star Trek would be as Detective Sykes in Alien Nation, which was out in kind of like the 89, 1990. He's done a couple of things outside of that. Unfortunately, Gary Graham has passed away. He actually passed away only last year, would you believe, in January 2024. He was 74, actually 73, I believe it was. He was I think it was died of natural causes, as far as I can see here. So unfortunately, one of the many we've lost to the annals of time. But for the process of this, he will always be remembered as Soval from Star Trek Enterprise, the gaslightiest of all Vulcans.
Yes.
And Jerry, we come to the main event, and you'd be shocked to hear this is the first time we're asking this question. But how many times has Vaughn Armstrong been in Star Trek?
Too many.
That's the correct answer.
Now, the thing is, I think he now holds the record for having the most amount of characters in Star Trek, even more so than Jeffrey Combs.
Yes, that would be correct. Yes,
but for me to tell you how many, I don't know. I know it's double digits. It's double digits, and I don't think it's like a teens. I think it's like 20 odd.
Um, 20 would be optimistic now, I'll have to say.
Okay,
But yeah.
let me say 15.
15. Okay, 15 again is just overshooting it a little bit. If we're excluding mirror universe equivalents of Max
We
of
are
Admiral
excluding
Forest, 11 is the final score.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. So again, we're going to fly through these ones because most of these you will know already. Starts off in the Next Generation as Captain Chorus. He is the Heart of Glory episode where Worf meets some Klingons and they all have a shouting competition.
Yeah.
He is Goldenar in the episode Past Prologue from Deep Space Nine. That'll be the third episode of the first season. Um, he then is Dr. Telek Moore from the episode Eye of the Needle from Voyager, Romulan Doctor. He's also in Deep Space Nine as called Seskal, one of the Cardassians. It'll be the episodes When It Rains and The Dogs of War. So towards the end of the run, so you see him from that. A lot of entries in Voyager. He is 2 of 9 in the episode Survival Instinct, but obviously renames to Lansor later on. He is the Vidian captain in the episode Fury, when he's under all the prosthetics. God love him. He's also the Alpha Hirogen in the episode Flesh and Blood.
Mhm.
And then he's also Korath in the final episode Endgame. He has a lot. He just loves prosthetics. We'll come back to Maxwell Forrest because that's obviously his most prominent one. But he also has 2 other roles in Enterprise as the captain of the Klingon ship in the episode Sleeping Dogs. And then he is a Cretessan captain in the 2 episodes Vox Sola and A Night in Sickbay, which first one is in the first season and the other is in the second season. So you'll see him in both of them. But finally, one thing we actually do get to see him with a reoccurring role, which is as Admiral Forrest. And I hear you asking, Jerry, who is Admiral Forrest? Because I don't fucking know either. It's just one of those fascinating ones where like he's an admiral, but I don't know, not sure why. But yeah, essentially it's a case of like he obviously we had the episode First Flight, which kind of put the meat on the bones as to how Archer and Forrest got to know each other and stuff like that. Obviously, we knew about Archer's dad, Henry, who helped design the engine and stuff like that. And basically, Forrest went on from there. He was always in the admiral role anyway, so one could only assume that he had a kind of an important career outside of the current like kind of like canon that we have. But fun fact, actually, the character Forrest is actually named after DeForest Kelly. Would you believe?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was actually a genuine Easter egg to as a tribute to the actor himself. And yeah, there's loads of different kind of apocrypha and stuff like that, and obviously he has his own mythos in the mirror universe as well, where he's obviously the captain of the Enterprise as opposed to just being the admiral. So yeah, very much different taste. And of course, in terms of Baron Armstrong himself, Jesus, where do you fucking start? If he's not acting, he's in his own band. And even a Star Trek inspired band as well. Like he's a pilot in Clear and Present Danger. That's the Harrison Ford is President movie, if you remember. And he's in a couple of other TV series here and there, but like really he's a perennial Star Trek actor. I don't think there's any exaggeration on that front. A couple of soap operas here and there, like Days of Our Lives, but like really I think Star Trek is his calling in a sense. I mean, anyone who forms a blues band inspired by the show, I think likes working there. If we're being honest here, don't suppose you've tried to book the Enterprise Blues Band at Comic-Con anytime soon, Jerry? Do you?
No.
I believe they're a package deal. But yeah, perennial favorite of Star Trek. It has to be said. Like, wow, what a fucking run in that respect. And it's actually nice for him to actually get a reoccurring role, something to actually get his teeth stuck into, and actually have some sort of reprising role. So it's nice for him to do that. Oh Jesus, that's one thing about Enterprise. They have a lot of fucking guest roles, like, and they're all from the same Rolodex. They're all people they know before.
Yeah.
That's right. So with that, then. Let's get on with the review of the episode. And Jerry, you can take it away with this one. How did the plot of this episode start off with, obviously, Florida to Venezuela being carved open like a fucking turkey? How did that work for you?
When you watch the first and second season, it kind of goes at a nice little pace. and then it ramps up in this episode because uh you know they're mostly kind of doing flavor of the week when it comes to the first two seasons of Enterprise. You do get a couple of like two-parters and a couple of like recurring storylines like the Suliban, like the Temporal Cold War and stuff like that. And then of course you've got the Klingon stuff. So you're not I'm not going to say the word confused because that makes it a negative. You are just surprised. You really have no idea what's going on when it comes to the start of this episode. You think, who's attacking them? So the first thing you see is this weapon attacking Earth. The second thing you see is the Klingon homeworld, and you're like, oh, it's the Klingons have just attacked Earth. Is this going to lead to a Klingon Starfleet or Klingon Earth war? You haven't a clue what's going on. Again, then you see that the Enterprise is on its way home because they've heard they've been attacked. Then the Suliban turn up. So it really is like it makes you guess. It's almost like a whodunit until you get to Earth. And you're like, okay, it was the Suliban, it was this, that, the other. Not the Suliban, the Zindi. Who the hell are the Zindi? What the hell is going on? And it ramps up from there. Then you finally get to see the Enterprise with some proper weapons, and they knock the shit out of Duras. Duras is gone. Some people I think would probably have wanted Duras to survive so that they could kind of duke it out maybe in a future series. But I was actually quite happy with his demise. I'm like, yeah, let's get rid of the Duras. You just hear the name Duras from Next Generation, from Deep Space Nine, and then from Enterprise. You're like, yeah, fuck off. Just
it's a really icky name.
It very much is. So for me, absolutely worked. It really, really set. And this is the thing. It was a cliffhanger without it being a cliffhanger, because you're like, okay, are they going to find them? What's going on? They go into the Delphic Expanse. They go in. Through the cloud, and you can see them go on the other side. It's not like, oh my god, has somebody died or something like that. No, but it really leaves you with a taste of wanting more. You're like, Jesus Christ, I want the next season. I want it now. So obviously then you have to wait like a year for the next one. You're like, you bastards. So yeah, absolutely ticks all the boxes for me. What would I score this though? Ooh, I'd go an 8 or 9. I would.
I was gonna say 9 personally. I think mainly because like for a plot, it's a busy episode. It
packs a punch. It packs a punch, yeah.
Like it's fitting a lot in 45 minutes. Like for an episode that starts off with an attack on Earth, and okay, I think the kind of the elephant in the room here is like, why did they made an episode like this? And you look at the show was made. This episode was released in 2003, and as many people know, typically Enterprise, the show is produced basically 6 to 9 months in advance. So let's say, for argument's sake, it was the year 2002. Now, what do we know that's happened in very recent times in 2002 that would inspire such things like this? Obviously, 9/11 was the kind of the core memory of Americans up at this point, because of how traumatic it was. And not even America, it was a huge event in the world as well, and defined geopolitics for like the last 25 years, you'd have to say. Like, there's a butterfly effect from what happened beyond that point. And again, it's not the only show that's kind of taken inspiration, or well, inspiration is probably the wrong word, but has kind of dealt with has consequences of that as well. Like, I mean, there's been games that's been cancelled because of it, or redesigned and stuff like that. TV shows have been like heavily accelerated because of it. Like, even like the first season 24 was done during when the events of 9/11 happened in its kind of off season. So the second season goes, okay, fine, but nuclear bomb. It immediately starts going like, magma up to that point. So something like Enterprise now thinking, okay, we're going to do something equivalent in our universe. How do our characters deal with it? And it's almost like, in a way, that the dust had not settled up at that point, because at this point there is still a war in Afghanistan. There is still the hunt for Osama bin Laden at this point. So the actual end point to the story has not been written yet. And the Enterprise also is in that same environment where, like, we're in the middle of it right now. We're now having to engage this enemy that we don't know, and yeah, I think the word way to describe it personally. So why I'm feeling the 9 personally is that it's a gear change in terms of the show. like it's gone from the Suliban and the Klingon, and it's kind of brushed them aside in one episode to go, no,
Yeah.
we have a new threat, kind of way. Um, that's kind of how I feel it with a 9 anyway. So will we say 8 or 9 for this episode?
I'm gonna go a 9. I'll go a 9.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, we're gonna go
It
9.
definitely deserves it. It was action packed. It was great from start to finish. Really sets up season 3 beautifully, and then you're just left wanting more.
Absolutely. Very good. And next up then is the setting. So again, if you're not familiar with the categories, you see them up on screen now. This is how we're scoring the episode, category by category. So we will see now what the setting is like. And Jerry, anything that kind of caught your eye in terms of how the episode was presented?
Now, it was all kind of sets that we've seen before. In terms of where they were, maybe the Klingon hall, but we've probably seen that before.
Yeah.
We've seen that maybe Joras's bridge, maybe Joras's bridge would be one. Nothing remarkably stands out for me anyway. What have you got something on your mind?
Well, it's perhaps something for a different category, but I found the camera work to be really, really effective in this episode. Because I think we had this initially with Stephen when he was on for best of all worlds, and we were talking about, or for the Pale Moonlight, I should say, and like obviously when you have sets like this as well, it's like Enterprise is unique in a sense where like it's made its own sets. Like it is essentially the cameras kind of have free reign around the space that they've made. So like they have the engineering set, they have the bridge, they have all the other like bespoke kind of areas they have that they want to do. And I think they really, this is going to sound really wankery as a phrase, but they use the space well, for their cameras, because the first thing that really throws me off in that is the fact when they're all gathered in the kind of their I guess briefing room, if you want to call it. It's not observation lounge because it ain't that fucking big, but they're gathered around and the camera is pacing around them very nervously. There's a shake to the camera. There's there's an anxiety to how they're doing it.
It echoes what's happening in the room.
Yeah, exactly.
And it really does. And okay. I think we should include it in this because when you're looking at anything else, when Trip and Malcolm were on Earth, that was pretty good. So I don't want to mark that because it was just terrible. You've got the bits in the Klingon ship that may not have really seen properly before. You've got stuff on Earth when Archer beams down, not beams down, but lands on Earth. And then the kind of scene with the damaged probe and stuff like that. Then of course you've got the stuff on the Suliban ship, but it's all stuff we'll be seeing before. So to see something different like that kind of nervous camera work, that to me now, that alone would, if you were just judging that alone would get a 10. Can't give it a 10 because you have to judge the entire episode. So I'd be very generous. I'm being very generous by saying this. I'm going to go a 7.
A 7, I think, is fair, yeah. Because I was thinking, I was kind of flickering between 7 and 8 by myself. Because the other thing I had, I think I'll probably throw my second point into the effects category instead. But the setting is obviously it's sometimes very hard with a room you have certain times, and the Next Generation kind of falls in this a little bit as well, because everything is so bright and clean in the Next Generation that when there is an actual panic on, it doesn't look like it. Like even when like something like the best of all work, Picard has just been assimilated. Like Earth is in fucking trouble. Like I'm thinking like the actual ending of the episode itself, but as the Borg cube is right at the top where fucking Finland is, and it's about to start hitting downwards. You know what I mean? But overall, there's not even remote panic about it. There's no damage on the ship. There's no kind of like the lights aren't flickering. There isn't like like red shirts flying around panicking because Earth is in trouble, calling their mothers. Everything is nice and controlled, nice and static in a sense. I think by this point Star Trek gets a lot better at expressing the energy in the room, if you like. Whereas obviously the message statement for the Next Generation is different, because like these are the best that humanity can offer. Even a crisis like this shouldn't phase them in a sense, because you have a solution to everything. Whereas we're not with that with Enterprise. These aren't the best humans yet. They will get there, but they're not at that point yet. This is their learning experience. So obviously there's a very different energy here, and it's a lot more relatable as well. And I think they kind of lean on that a little bit towards the show as well. But I think 7's a fair one, because as I said, it's everything we've kind of seen before, but just utilized a little bit differently. And then the visual effects we will be talking about later. Next up then is the writing, and the writing I think is like this is one of those episodes that kind of writes itself in a sense. But when you give yourself the opening premise, and a lot of it is kind of expressed visually, like you're not taxing yourself in terms of like, okay, how do I write this scene where Archer tells the crew this is we know how the crew is going to react to this, and what are the story beats up to this point. Well, our end point is that the Enterprise is going to pursue their new threat through this mysterious area of space that they don't know about. That's their end point. Grand story beat, story beat, story beat. You don't have to think about the flow of this episode. You kind of know where you're going with this, because like it's a natural end point to it. The two kind of question marks you say is like, okay, what's the dynamic between Archer and T'Pol at this point? What's the dynamic between what's Future Guy doing in terms of the plot? Those are the two real kind of things you want to nail in this episode, and I think they do so. The fact that Future Guy kind of has this very amoral view of it in a sense, where like it's like he has his own agenda, and has always had his own agenda in this episode. This has been well established at this point, and in a way, this is the first time you actually kind of see that it's actually the agenda is in the humans' favor this time. It's always felt like it's favored the Suliban, or it's always been like, it's an adversarial kind of thing, like how Q is to the crew, the Enterprise, in the Next Generation. This one's a little bit more like, okay, he's obviously a faction in this temporal war, and we're just pawns in the chessboard. We accept that. We know that. Well, that's what we are. But at this point, you actually kind of feel, oh, actually, we're actually a player in this now, because of obviously the stuff that happened beforehand with like Officer Daniels and stuff like that. So there's a little bit of a more of a intellectual understanding between the two of them. So I think they wrote that very well. At the same time, there's nothing exceptional in the writing. It is just like, there's nothing I can say, a point that I go, that is the best writing I've seen all season or anything like that. Not really, no. It's just competent, workman like writing, and just let's get from this point to this point and let's start working on season 3. So for me, I'm gonna go with an 8 on the writing, unless you have any thoughts on yourself, Jerry.
No, I think that's fair. I think that, it was a good episode. It's a really well written episode. Yeah. But is it like a best of both worlds, a pale moonlight? No, of course it's not. But it really, really does a great job in setting up the next season. You, as you say, you're bypassing the Suliban, you're bypassing the Klingons, very much still an air of the Temporal Core War, because this is what is culminating in it. This wasn't supposed to happen, and the fact that the bad guys are helping you goes to show you just how badly wrong this has gone. This should not have happened. This was not meant to happen. So it's a thing where, as I say, it sets up the next season beautifully. So the writing is good enough to do that. So an 8 is very fair. Yep,
absolutely. Next up then is the acting, and I think I can only pass to you on this one, Jerry, seeing that you are the savant of acting yourself. So what caught your eye in this episode?
For me, especially when you're looking like specifically at the likes of Vulcans and whatnot, Saval is very good in this, because it's almost like he has spent too much time around humans. It's as simple as that. He spent too much time around them. So he is starting to get irritable. He is starting to get emotional. Then you look at the exact opposite of T'Pol, how she is just a stone. And Jolene Blanc, she plays the role so unbelievably well. She always did for the entire 4 years that they did it. The fact then that we got Jolene back for Lower Decks, and it was like she never left. Yeah. She was and the fact that even though it's a cartoon, her voice was just as monotone and steady as it could be as a Vulcan. I'm like, yeah, she hasn't missed a beat fucking 25 years later, and she still does it as good as this. God damn, that is good stuff. So very, very good for her. You then see, I think as well, Archer and Trip in this episode are the ones more than anyone else. Everyone else is the same. Obviously, everyone is troubled by the attack on Earth, but everyone else is the same. Hoshi's the same. The Doctor Phlox is the same. Mayweather is the same, and Malcolm is the same. They're just getting on with their jobs. But Trip and Art is hit really badly with them. Yeah. The fact that the two of them are sitting down drinking whiskey together. Obviously, it's Trip it's hit Trip the most. So the fact that he gets very emotional in many scenes of this, and one scene for me would be, well, obviously we're going to get the scenes as well, but one scene for me would obviously be when he gets really pissed off with Malcolm, and he's like, just leave it alone, just leave it, and he walks away. So like really, really good stuff there. Anything to do with the Klingons, like the Duras, really, really good. They are proper Klingons, really proper Klingons. So really, really well done. But for me, it has to be the emotional outbursts of Trip and Archer. Just you can start to see this is the point where they went from being Boy Scouts to being men. And I know that's going to sound really strange, but it is. They were Boy Scouts before this. They were innocent Boy Scouts, expanding their knowledge of the galaxy, and then something like this happened. And it's exactly what you look at, the kind of utopia that Star Trek creates in the future of Gene Roddenberry's of future, and how it's this absolute paradise, and we've evolved and this and that. And it's an episode like this, and even lesser extent to the likes of In the Pale Moonlight and whatnot, is that no matter what, we're human.
Yeah.
And we can do good things, we can do bad things, we will be emotional, and we will be guided by those emotions. And that's exactly what this is, to the point where this episode, and again, this is going to sound strange, this episode ends the Boy Scout look of Archer. Because that's exactly what he's had for 2 seasons. He had this Boy Scout, prim and proper captain look. And as soon as we go into the next episode, first episode of season 3, the hair's cut short. He is more angry looking. He is more emotional. He does things that he never thought he would do. The same with Trip, how the things that he think he would do, he does do in the next season, because it's affected them more than anybody else on the ship. Archer very much so, but especially Trip. So yeah, this was the acting in this was top notch, from the Klingons to the Vulcans to the emotional humans. I'm going to go a 9 with this one.
9, okay, fair enough. Yeah, no, I can't argue with that one. I think. Do you think? And it's probably it's a bit I don't know if it's an unfair question in a sense, but obviously there was a lot of ground to cover in this episode between tying up the Klingon plot, the Duras plot, let's be fair, and the Suliban plot and the Future Guy plot at the same time. Do you think the episode kind of suffered from the fact you mentioned, like, kind of the likes of Mayweather and Hoshi were just kind of like straight as a die, in terms of, like, we didn't see how this impacted them, because we were so focused on obviously Trip having his issue with his sister and Archer leading the way. I like that there was a focus on T'Pol and Phlox, because they were, in a sense, foreigners to this situation. They're not. If we're using the allegory here, they are foreign nationals in America compared to actual Americans.
Yes.
When you see like something as visual as, like, say, the Twin Towers collapsing, if you're from New York, for instance, that hits you quite emotionally, because that's one of your massive, like, kind of symbols gone, in a sense.
Yeah.
So, I think it's kind of an interesting one. Like, do you think the episode kind of suffered for not seeing Hoshi's or Mayweather's point of view? Because really, there wasn't much time for it, really, realistically speaking.
I'm going to be honest. I'm going to say no, and this is the reason. Okay, so I'm going to try and explain this as best I can, and we'll use kind of modern day stuff for this. So, when the world heard of the invasion of Ukraine by Russia and stuff like that, everyone was like, "Oh my God, Jesus, that's terrible." And you just got on with it then. Yeah. You just got on with your life. It's terrible that this is happening, but what are we going to do? There's not much we can do. It's happening, and governments are going to do this and governments are going to do that, and people will condemn it and blah blah. But then the next day, better go to work. So it's a thing where if they had all been from Florida or Venezuela, it would have been devastating for them. But they weren't.
True, yeah.
They were from different parts of the world. Not all of them are from America. Not all of them are from South America.
Yeah, sure. Mayweather
look at Malcolm.
Mayweather's
born in space, so he's not an American. He's not even an Earthling. He's a human, but he's not even an Earthling. You then look at Malcolm. Malcolm's English.
So really excited by this, to be honest with you. It's like, oh great, a war, fantastic. Let's get cracking.
We can have a proper row now. So, but that's just it. It is again. It goes to that human nature. It's that we hear of these horrible things, and it really is horrible and devastating. And then the next day, you have to get on with your life. You know, it's a terrible thing to think of, but that's just how it is. It's like when the world heard about 9/11,
Yeah.
we were like, holy shit. Like, obviously, the biggest thing that's ever happened in terms of a terror attack in the entire world. And we're shocked and like, Jesus. And it's on the TV, it's on news for weeks and months on end. And they're hunting Osama and they're this, that, and never. But again, in Ireland, the next day, you just had to go to work or go to, or for me, go to school.
Yeah.
That's what it was. We learned about it. We learned about it in history class that America had been attacked. Nobody knew what was going on. I cycled home, but I knew of this TV shop between my house and my school, and I stopped, and there was always like already 20, 30 people standing outside watching the news reports on Sky News on the tellies in the window. And you're all like, absolutely, Jesus, that's just shocking. Then you get home and you're watching it with your family, and everyone's like, this is crazy. You go to bed thinking this is crazy, and then you wake up and you go to school, you go to work, or you go to whatever you're doing, because you have to get on with it. And that's what a lot of the crew are. It's like, not everyone was from America, not everyone's from Florida. You know, it's terrible, and they can sympathize with the people and this, that, but you have to get on with your life. So that's essentially what they're doing. You know, an Englishman was pissed off that Earth was attacked, so he got to work. It's exactly what he did. He got to work. You know, you look at Mayweather. He was like being analytical as he normally is, sitting in that chair going, well, we can go this fast, Captain. Grant. How she just get on with her translating duties.
Yeah.
That was it. But the two that were affected the most was the fact that Archer was the captain, and the captain of an Earth vessel that had just been attacked. So he wasn't thinking about a nation or anything like that. And of course, Trip was thinking the fact that his sister just got murdered along with 7 million other people.
Yeah.
So it didn't. No, I don't think so. I didn't suffer at all from that. I really don't. But I might be wrong. You know?
No, I think that's I think that's a fair argument. Like I said, it's because I remember, I think we've had kind of episodes like that before where like characters are basically kind of parked for the episode because the writers don't have anything for them, and I always kind of feel sorry for them in particular because they're kind of square pricks, and like, you know, they're empathic characters. You know, they would say something if the cameras are on them, but like, unfortunately, there's only so much time you have in a 45-minute episode. You can't have them all queue up and kind of give Trip a pat in the back for saying sorry that your sister got melted. You know, it's you know, what else can you fucking do? You know, kind of way. Like it's you know, so long as thanks for all the fish, I guess, Trip. You know, whatever. So look, anyway, so we move on then to action, and a great episode for action, actually, like really peppered in and out, isn't it? It's like it's a good one for us.
Fantastic. We obviously, the very first thing you see is Earth getting attacked. That's action in itself.
Yeah.
You then see Archer getting kidnapped by the Suliban, and then being surrounded by many Suliban ships. You then get your first look at the bird of prey, at the Enterprise bird of prey in this episode, while they're attacking as they come into the Sol system. And all of a sudden, 3 other Earth vessels that we'd not actually seen before come in and knock the shit out of them. You're like, yep, this is good shit, man. This is good. Then you see, Earth's on the way again, and they attack them again.
Yeah.
Get their asses handed to them again by the new torpedoes that they've been firing, and then they decide, well, let's bring 2 other birds of prey along. Get their ass handed to them again, and get bloated up they go.
Yep.
So absolutely action packed. This was because of the new weapons that they got. Enterprise got. This is probably one of the more action packed space scenes in the first 2 seasons. Obviously, there are other parts when they're fighting the Suliban, and they do fight the Klingons, and a few other, you know, one and done races. I suppose we can go along with. Then you've got the Andorians and the little spots that they've had with those. But this was probably the best action sequence that we'd seen up until this. Until you get to they're fighting the Xindi, and then Jesus, all bets are off when it comes to the action, especially the last 2 episodes of the 3rd season. You're like,
they were phenomenal.
Jesus. They were unbelievable. On par with the likes of Sacrifice of Angels and stuff like that. So fantastic stuff. So I can't give this anything less than a 10.
Fair enough. Okay, I didn't know think we were gonna go to full 10, but I am happy to go with that. I think it's an episode like again, I can't think of what else you could throw into this really. Like you want like you Duras Archer fist fight? I don't think so. Like I think we're good what we have. Because as I
That
said,
way,
like
I think you do something like that, you make it too Kirk like.
yeah, exactly.
It's
That's
too and like now Archer gets into a few scraps over the years, but you don't need to have him fighting in every episode.
yeah, that's it.
You know,
Yeah, every captain's different in a sense. Not everything has to go with the fisticuffs. As a wise man once said, I'm not Picard. You
it's
know,
true. Yeah,
it's
but the
like
thing
yeah.
is, the person who said it would have absolutely gone into fisticuffs in every episode if he fucking could.
Yeah, and in many of the episodes we've watched, yes, he has.
Yeah, he's been quite good as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's kind of justified in some of them not so much. But I mean, let's be fair. One of the best supercuts you'd ever find on YouTube is just Benjamin Sisko being very angry, and like again, it's not a slight on Avery Brooks himself, but he's just such a musical man. Like even when he's angry, he's in a melody. It's like I know what he's saying something, but I'm actually lost in his voice. I think he's upset. I can't tell.
Exactly. He's one of the purest actors in all of Star Trek.
Yeah.
And I've seen like behind the scenes stuff where the actors talking about how intense he could be, and then at the drop of a hat, he's back to being like singing, dancing, joking, and like how the fuck does someone do that? But he is one of the purest actors in all of Star Trek, and certainly in Deep Space Nine. My God, like I think he has had amazing performances, but none more so than the episode where I think Cisco's hallucinating and he's on Earth and he's actually a comic, and that scene where he says, "But it's real to me," and I'm like,
Yeah.
like I think any young actor, especially American actors, any young actor who wants to do a monologue, look at that scene.
Yeah.
And go, just if you can go to that intensity,
Place. Yeah.
and you can, because you're watching that and you're like, Jesus, just unbelievable acting.
Like it's harnessing generational trauma. Like you're trying to you're trying to like basically release like decades worth of struggle for African Americans, for Black people worldwide. Like it's how do you express the anguish you get from just systematic racism? It's a hard thing to do, and like the only way you can express it is with a with an outrage, an outburst like that. Like
it was it's so unbelievable and intense. Obviously, we've gone off topic here, but just absolutely fantastic. So yeah,
indeed. Next up then is effects. We do have to caveat that this is very early CGI, and the HDifying of Enterprise has not benefited that at all.
No,
but I think it's one of the things where like basically it gets away with it once it's far away and small. I think once they try and do anything close up, and you basically kind of see the rubbery textures and the very kind of PS2 quality, humans, Klingons, aliens, and yeah, I feel sorry for
the way I look at it is when you're looking at anything on I think this is the best way to say it. When you're looking at anything on the ground, it's not very good, and it's just as simple as that. When you look at the Klingon homeworld scene, Kronos scene, the people look shite. The buildings look great. The setting looks great, but the people look shite. Then you look at Malcolm and Trip when they're on Earth, looking at the damage.
Their body doubles.
That is dreadful. And the only thing those two scenes just remind me of somebody put up. I'd never noticed it before, but somebody put up a specific scene from Titanic.
Yeah,
and Titanic is sailing first, and you just see the CGI of the people walking around the ship, and you're like, Jesus Christ, that is dreadful. Now you have to understand it's like 95, 96 when Titanic came out.
Exactly.
And this was 2003, so like, okay, it's not going to be amazing. Saying that, the space stuff is immaculate.
Oh yeah,
absolutely immaculate. When you go from using models in the Next Generation, and even still using models in Deep Space Nine, And I think even early Voyager still used models, and then they finally went to full CGI. The difference between the models and CGI was just exceptional. You're able to do a lot more. You're able to include now. Obviously, it was more expensive to do that, so that's why they reused and reused and reused. And I hate the fact that they did that, especially in Deep Space Nine. It pissed me off more than anything else because you've got scene after scene after scene of seeing the same ships orbiting Deep Space Nine, and you don't mind it as such. But then when you're looking at fleet deployments, and it's the same fucking fleet deployments, like, geez, lads, come on.
What was it? Was it Sacrifice of Angels, where it was all the rehashing of the same action shots from the 2 previous battles? The second
No,
battle?
not Sacrifice of Angels. No. What for me it was a Call to Arms.
Call to Arms, that's the one. Yeah,
Call to Arms. So basically, in Call to Arms, they rehashed all the scenes and replaced the Klingon ships with Jem'Hadar ships, but they were scenes that had already been in other episodes. So you get even when Cisco started saying "fire at will" in Call to Arms on Deep Space Nine, they fire torpedoes at 3 Cardassian ships. Those 3 Cardassian ships are from the very first episode in the very first season.
Yeah.
But you're not just done a little bit more. Look what you did with Way of the Warrior. Like, Christ on a bike. The amount. The amount.
One Klingon. Yeah. the one thing isn't sucked in through fire.
Yeah.
Like 5 times through like decades of fucking
But the thing is, like, you look at the CGI, especially the ships from Way of the Warrior, and even Sacrifice of Angels. My God, the budget for those must have been huge for those CGIs because they were fantastic. Anything from the new weaponry on Deep Space Nine to all the ships attacking the station to the new Negvar being attacked. Then you're looking at all the other ships in Sacrifice of Angels, all the Cardassians, Jem'Hadar, all the Federation ships, all the galaxies coming in. You've got the Mirandas, you've got the Excelsiors, absolutely kicking the shit out of things. I'm like, this is brilliant. And then you see other episodes where they just rehashed the same thing over, and I was like, Jesus, just don't do it. So it's nice and fresh to see an Enterprise. They don't do that very often. They do it, but they don't do it very often, which is brilliant. Like, you look at the scene from this particular episode where the Suliban surround the ship, been used at least twice before. That's fine because it's not needed, because it's not an action scene. Whereas you look at the action scenes, they're all brand spanking new. You look at the very first time, like the look of the torpedoes firing, the sound of the torpedoes firing. Oh, that was just musical gold to me. Like, I love that. Absolutely love it. So this is why it's very difficult to judge this category, especially for this episode, because you've got such dirt CGI on the ground, but you've got such absolutely beautiful, elegant drawing lines, everything explosion, the whole lot in space. So I'm going to go. I'm going to go 7.
7 was what I had in my mind, and I tell you what, I did want to. I do have a lot of, obviously, like, the CGI is obviously dreadful, and I have that reflected in my scoring here on my sheet here. But actually, one thing that really impressed me at the end of the episode, this is when they've done the maneuver, and that was really well done, by the way, CGI wise. Like, that was a really perfect way of doing that, because it was very reminiscent of the Enterprise appearing from the nebula to attack Khan's ship in the movie. And I was like, that's like, it is an updated version of that. It's a faster, more like aggressive, as it would be with ships in combat type of thing, without it being too fast and, you know, mew 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 like Discovery. You know, every single fucking time. But
let's not get into it. Come on.
Let's not get into it. But at the very least, like, that kind of feel, it has a natural kind of, like, you know, ships at sea in combat type of energy to it. But the one thing that really caught my eye actually was when they had finished the battle and Archer's kind of stand there, like, not necessarily triumphant and stuff like that, but I was I was a bit confused at the end because I was thinking like, because they had the Delphi Expanse up on screen and they had a kind of a smoke kind of like quality to the graphics of the Expanse of the nebula, and then there was smoke then across. So I thought there was like, had they put two particle filters on that in post production? And then they change the camera angle then to get the Delphic off it, and it goes, oh, actually no, it's my eyes betraying me. There is actually just smoke all around the camera. They have actual proper smoke around the room, and they're capturing. It's just the lighting makes it look like it's layered on. I was like, and then when you actually see that when he does the final word on the episode, and you see that the smoke is around him, and it's like, that's the pace setter for how the Enterprise is going to look, because for the next season the Enterprise gets the fucking shit kicked out of it. Like that's the last time you'll ever see the Enterprise clean until series
season
4.
4, yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And like that's like, it is perpetual smoke. That is just like, that's exactly how it's going to be lit. It's how it's going to be, how it's going to look. It's how Archer's going to look for the entire run. And I thought that was just a nice way, again, gear shift is what I use when I'm talking about the plot. It's a gear shift in how the ship is going to be presented as well. Like it's never not going to be in that state for the rest of the run. And I thought that was actually quite well done. But I think 7 is a good score for effects, considering the fucking Final Fantasy-esque rendition of former Pensacola, Florida. Like, I'm sorry, but like having this high street with like cinema and stores all destroyed, and it looks a bit like Fallout. Not for me, Clive. It just
was
didn't work.
dreadful.
Yeah.
Dreadful.
Now, I am gonna perhaps presume on you, Jerry Soul, that this next category is scoring high. Would that be the score?
Sorry, say that again.
The score, the music of the
score. Okay. When you look at this, it is very Enterprise-esque in terms of the music. The very start of it it lingers as you're going into the singing as they do. It very much lingers because you have the ship just appear out of nowhere, knocks the shit out of Earth, and you're like, whoa. Well, for me, I think the best part of the episode for music wise was the fight with the Klingons. Because it kind of gives you that theatrical, not sense of urgency, but theatrical, like this, like we're bound to, like, right, we're getting into this now, we're really going for it.
Yeah.
But overall, it wasn't really very, like, it wasn't Best of Both Worlds type music. It wasn't the God, what was the name of the episode? The one that's currently second.
We have a couple.
The Romulans in the War. What the? It's called.
The Jesus Christ. Bands of Terror.
No, not that one. The Romulans entering the war in Deep Space Nine. What's it called?
Oh, good lord! In the Pale Moonlight.
Thank you. In the Pale Moonlight. So, in the Pale Moonlight was a perfect example of like proper pacing of the music. Really, really fantastic. This to me just seemed very much like generic Enterprise music.
Okay.
Apart from the fighting scenes with the Klingons, but everything else just seemed very, I suppose, just generic Enterprise music. So, I do. In terms of scoring, it's still good. It's still good music, and especially those bits when they're fighting in the Expanse. It was nice and somber up until that point, and then boom, it just kicks up on the overdrive. So I wouldn't score it low, but I wouldn't be going a 10. I'd probably go a 7.
Okay, interesting. Because like, funny enough, like actually on my sheet here, I actually had down as a 9. Would you believe?
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I thought they really nailed the music at this. Because again, I remember I could be getting this confused with the Shockwave 2-parter as well. But I remember both episodes having their own kind of suite of music. And I feel like anytime they rock that out, is that they want to like set a pace with it as well. Now, what I would say is this kind of tone and the music they have in this episode is pretty much what to do for the rest of season 3. It's like this is the music, this is the template we're going to borrow with for the rest of the series. And I don't mind that in a sense. Like, I don't mind when they do things like that, because like you hear the same kind of notes for like whenever the Klingons are attacking. It's the same kind of bars. It's same with the Borg. the same with everything else. Like you have familiar kind of like motifs and stuff like that to get your point across. And personally, I think they should do that more often. Like it's kind of like you don't get like there is a Cardassian note in Deep Space Nine, but you don't get like say Ferengi's kind of like there's a bit of whimsy to that. Like there isn't a Ferengi theme in a sense. There isn't a there's not necessarily a Bajoran theme or anything like that. So it's something that I think they could play with around a bit more often, perhaps for Strange New Worlds maybe. But no, I scored this really high. I thought the music here was tremendous. I thought there was a fabulous sense of tension. I thought there was a tone of ill intent and a kind of like there was an acceptance of the fact that now things are not, we're not in Kansas anymore, Toto type of energy to it. I think, and again, it kind of culminates with the battle with Duras. But yeah, so if you're picking 7,
I tell you what, let's meet in the middle and we go 8.
Yeah, we're going 8 with that one then in that case. Next up then is scenes. So again, my barometer is like, can you take a scene out of this episode and like kind of watch it in context and catch everything? And I can't say that there's a scene in this that does have that. But again, much like the many of the episodes, there are shows we've watched on this, I can't say that there is a wasted scene in this. If anything, it's a busy episode. Like you could have easily made this a 2-parter. I think if they had the flexibility, they would have loved to add another 15 onto this to flesh out some of the storylines, to kind of add a bit of intrigue to Will to Paul stay on and stuff like that, to have a bit more Earth content in the sense of like what's Admiral Forrest doing, what is Earth doing at this point. There's so many. There are things left on the writing table on this episode, and that's not a bad thing in a sense. It's the fact that like they had 45 minutes. That's all they could do to fit this in. Because again, they done stuff like that with Shockwave, where they had like Archer back on Earth and like feeling like this feels a little bit off, and then temporal shenanigans go from there. So that's one where they had breathing space to let the story develop, where they don't really have that. They need to go, okay, time to keep moving. And that's I think that's quite accurate to when you have a crisis like this, because you don't have time to think. Again, if you're American politics in 2001, like people want their pound of flesh. They want to see retribution. They want to see their loved ones avenged, type of thing. Like that's not an American thing. That's a human thing. Like that's like anger is one of our default responses to hardship, to an attack. It's not in our nature, unfortunately, to be philosophical and go, well, the context of this was this, that, and the other. No, you killed my loved one. I want revenge. I want to find the person who's responsible for this and fucking bring them justice. And in America, justice is not justice. Justice is shoot them fucking dead. The kind of way. And that's the kind of energy to us, where like there's a quiet acceptance in the whole episode that they need to go and get this done, and they need to get retribution, and they need to avenge their loved one's deaths. And Trip is the person who manifests that the most. I'll come back to him in the next category. The scenes are kind of like there's a quiet acceptance of that. There is a flashpoint of anger between him and between Trip and Reed, but everything else is a little bit like, we're gonna have to do this, kind of way. They don't want to do this. They don't want to get aggressive and kind of prove the Vulcans right, but it has to be done. And that's a kind of a theme of the entire episode, as opposed to just one scene. Again, what really capitalizes is perhaps Trip and Archer drinking the bourbon together and kind of like moving on, or kind of accepting that. So 7 is kind of what I'm settling on personally on that one.
I would agree with you there. To me, there's not one scene that kind of jumps out. The Malcolm and Trip scene when they're walking down the hall and Trip is kind of like, just leave it alone.
Yeah.
That would be the only one for me, or maybe even the scene between T'Pol and Phlox. But nothing out of the world amazing. Just there just wasn't. But it was a nice kind of, because there was so much going on, you just couldn't have one of those scenes where it was, like In the Pale Moonlight or something like that. There was no one space for it. There just wasn't enough time for it. So what did you say, a 7?
7, yeah.
I'd go with 7 as well.
Okay, fair enough then. Okay then, next up then is characters, and again for this category it's for who we think has the most development, the most time, attention. Who caught your eye in this episode, Jerry?
To me, it's 2. Well, no, actually, it's three. You've got T'Pol, you've got Archer, and you've got Trip. No, I think Trip more than anyone else. Trip was always the happy-go-lucky, funny engineer. He was, uh, he was always the life and soul of the ship. He
Yeah,
liked to have a laugh. He liked to explore new things, and he has now been reduced to this angry, almost, I suppose, not begrudged, but like seeking revenge, I suppose.
yeah. There's
He's
a bloodlust in there.
it's exact. That's it. It's a bloodlust in him now, and that's all he wants. That's all he is. He is now. I'm happy to say that when it came to the next season, they didn't go too much
Yeah.
overboard with him. They did bring him back because, and like largely kind of influenced by Phlox, because Phlox kind of influenced the stuff between Trip and T'Pol.
Hmm.
Um, so they definitely pulled back on that, and I think there was probably there may have been some sort of backlash from this episode because they didn't want an angry Trip. They obviously somebody who was still upset and pissed off over the death of his sister, but somebody who he still needed to be somewhat the same. Whereas the change in Archer in the next season is very much needed
Yes.
because out with the Boy Scout and in with the captain.
Mm.
Very much so in the next season. So for me, it would have to be Trip out of the three out of Archer, T'Pol and Trip. It would have to be Trip.
Okay.
In terms of now the fact that they did pull it back in the next season, but you can't, you didn't
You don't know
know
that
when
that.
you were watching
Yeah.
this episode first. So I would go a 7 to an 8.
Okay. I was gonna throw another name in there, and it's just for the one scene that he does actually feature. Is actually Dr. Flox earned a real brownie point for me on this one in this episode, just for the scene where the fake doctor's coming in and he's scanning Archer and he's trying to like goad him into a response into some sort of like emotional outburst, and like Phlox is immediately turning around, and initially like you think okay, Phlox is like he's indulging this Vulcan doctor on this one, and the more he turns around the more accusatory he becomes. He's kept kind of like a simple face on it, thinking like okay, that's I'm indulging this here. Second time around is like okay, that's enough now, and then number three is a proper like get the fuck out of my house. And again, you don't see Phlox respond unless he's under some sort of like duress. You don't see him respond that angrily. He's a cool and collected customer, and again jovial. Like he's a jolly doctor in the grand scheme of things. But much like Tucker, events have preceded that. And it caused the shift change there, and again, it's not even the fact that like again, Flux is not directly affected by the events of what happened to Worth, but what he is affected by the fact that like his friends and his colleagues are all under an emotional strain, and you basically have this Vulcan coming in and poking and prodding those
Yeah.
emotions. Like, get the fuck out of here, man. Like that's not cool. Like so yeah, I'm swaying to an 8 because personally on the Phlox one because of that little interaction. But
I
usually
tell
go
you what,
7.
I'll go an 8 with you as well. I'll go an 8.
Go 8. Okay, all right, fine. Okay, and that leaves us then with the consequences of this episode. Significant. I think it has to be said.
I would, before we actually get into it, I would just go and say this has to be a 10 for me.
Okay.
It leads directly into, so this one episode leads to an entire season.
Yeah.
So you've got, and it's not just it's not just the attack on Earth, and then what the consequences of what happens from that when they go into the Expanse. It is then to go from the Boy Scouts, and I have said this multiple times, that to go from the Boy Scouts that they were to real hardened, very much hardened men and women that have now had to deal with this, but also now deal with everything that happens to them in the Expanse. They are, from one end of the season to the other, they are broken, put back together, and broken again.
Yeah.
And it happens to multiple characters multiple times. You look what happens to Paul in next season. She is very much somebody who has kept to her Vulcan teachings. Her emotions are in check, but at the end of the next season, she's almost half human.
Yeah.
Constant emotional outbursts. She's addicted to a drug that has to be manufactured for her. So many things happen to her. You then look at and it is a descent of Captain Archer. If
Yeah.
you say to yourself, how would Cisco or how would Picard or even how would Janeway have handled this? Could they have handled it the way Archer handled it? And I'm like, it didn't matter who you put in the chair.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't matter because it was going to be the same outcome because he went in there a Starfleet captain and he came out broken and hardened and like you then even look at the episode when they get back to Earth and then in the following season 4 whereas he's talking to the new captain of the NX-02 Columbia basically saying yeah you want to get more weapons yeah you want to get Makos on yeah you want to get this he's talking about fighting. That's all he's talking about. The Explorer is gone from him, and he's just talking about fighting. So the consequences are huge, and it's not just about this in the attack; it's about the individual characters in this. For me, it has to be a 10.
I couldn't agree with you more on that one. I think like if you were to look at Enterprise season 3, if you really were being simplistic with it, you'd say they finally got their way and got their year of hell as a season. You know, in the same way that we mentioned it, we reviewed Year of Hell already on the show, but that was intended to be a full season of Voyager. And when you look at how phenomenal that would have been, it is a wasted opportunity in a sense. But then you can also see the counter argument of it, like, and if it ends up all being reversed at the end of the season, that kind of like negates the entire run, which I think is a bit unfair personally, because like, you know, in Star Trek you always give yourself an out in the narrative anyway, because it's sci-fi, you can do whatever the fuck you want. I mean, again, other shows have brought back characters from the dead almost willy-nilly. Even Picard season 3 decided, oh fuck, let's bring back Data back. Fine, he's a golem now, don't worry about it. It was like, okay, I won't. Okay, I'm on board with this.
I was very happy with that actually.
I'm happy with that. Yeah, no, I'm gonna go. Let's roll with this. You know, so yeah, you have stuff like that happen all the time. So like, if it suits, you can have a narrative reason for it. But again, you mentioned the change in the characters, and again, it's reflective of real life events. It's reflective of the fact that like there has been a generation, of people in America who have lived with 9/11 as a consequence, in a sense, where like some people will not know, will have grown up in an era of Islamophobia. They will have grown up in an era of like paranoia, of not trusting people, of terrorism, in a sense, you know. And to have lived in both worlds, in a sense, to have been able to go, this is a purely optimistic way of seeing the world, very altruistic, very you know, see the right in every people kind of view, and then suddenly having a stark realization of this is actually what the world is like. And these are like, again, we're not going into the actual geopolitics of this and why 9/11 came to be. Do your own research on that, and for the love of God, don't fucking trust Twitter on that one. But what you can do is you can understand that there are events that precipitated 9/11 happening, and events that happened after that, in a sense. And all of that kind of like is the same for Star Trek, in a way. There's events that got Archer to this point, and what I think is quite clever in a sense is that these are events that haven't happened yet. This is the stuff with the temporal Cold War, the sphere builders, all this other aspect stuff that we don't even know about until season 3. The sphere builder shit might not have even been fucking written yet at this stage. So the fact is, like, they have made it as unknown a threat as possible to amplify the confusion more than anything else. Because again, they're trying to capsulate the time of, like, you know, picking up the pieces immediately after something massive like this. And again, that layer of confusion, that layer of, like, you know, of trauma response leads into what Archer will become and what everyone else will become. You know, in the middle of season 3, like, Archer tortures a Tholian to get what he wants. He leaves that race for dead because he needs their engines. These are things that a Starfleet captain wouldn't do. But the thing is, he's not a Starfleet captain. You know, he's a human being at this point. Like, he knows that, like, he needs to fulfill his mission, or else Earth falls. And, you know, that's a layer of pragmatism that hopefully a lot of us will never have to get to in our lives, because that's a huge thing to do. Again, like, look at the real world. Like, you know, the prime minister of Ukraine was once a stand-up comedian. He was a sketch artist. Like, imagine fucking Jon Stewart being on the front lines. You know, it's a bit of a hard pill to swallow in a sense, but events have precipitated him becoming the prime minister of Ukraine and leading them on the front lines for, at time of recording, 3 years.
Yeah.
Like, it's unreal. But then, like, and people, times change people, and people change the times. It's kind of the way of the world in a sense. For good or for bad, by the way, if you're somehow are one of the red hats watching this video. But like that's the thing as well. Like, this is where you do see that change, and everyone I think is like kind of braced for it, but they probably don't appreciate how bad it's going to be and how bad it's going to affect them, as we find out in the run of season 3. So yeah, I think a 10 on consequences is absolutely well justified. So Jerry, you were probably wondering how this episode scores. I don't know if you've been doing your maths outside of this discussion, but we do have an official score on this episode. If we can get this fucking spreadsheet to comply, there we go. So, the highest ranked episode of Enterprise so far has been the Andorian incident at 83. It now has a friend, which is the Expanse, also scoring 83 out of a possible 100.
Very good, very good.
Like, it's remarkable in a sense where, like, it hasn't actually breached the top 10, and that should show you how much incredible episodes we've watched up to this point. And it is so fucking close to the top 10. Yeah. It's not even funny. But yes, the top 10 would be starting off at Emissary and working its way up. So that should tell you how much is going on. So yeah, if in case you're unacquainted, the whole leaderboard is going to come up on screen now as I speak. But the top 10 as things stand is Emissary from Deep Space Nine with an 84. So again, not too far away from the Enterprise in this one. Then we have the Thaw, a half point ahead of that, which is currently 9th place. Then we have 2 entries on 85 out of a maximum 100, which is Empok Nor from Deep Space Nine and The Year of Hell, 2-parter from Voyager. Then we have All Those Who Wander, which is the Gorn episode from Strange New Worlds, which is at 87. Amok Time, the original series episode, at 88, which is currently 5th in our scoring. In 4th place is The Best of All Worlds doubleheader, which is at 90.5. In the Pale Moonlight from Deep Space Nine and The Quality of Mercy from Strange New Worlds are both at 91, sharing the silver medal at the moment. But top spot, currently unfazed by the opposition, is yesterday's Enterprise at 95.5. And as me and Jerry have discussed, it will take some beating to get to that point, but Jerry is quite confident that the end of this arc will certainly challenge top spot, and I don't disagree with him on that one.
I just think, without saying it, there are some fantastic scenes in it. The writing, the consequences, the music, the effects, everything in this particular episode that's coming, I think ticks all the boxes for me. Anyway, ticks all the boxes. But we have to wait and see. Just let's see what happens.
Yes, exactly, and like I said, we've got loads to look forward to in between then. But yeah, that was The Expanse, and overall, I really enjoyed that episode, I have to say. Like, I remember during lockdown, I did my complete blitz through of Enterprise, and like, it really is an underrated series in my view. I think it was really hard done by in terms of and well kind of justified series fatigue at that point, because Star Trek had been going on a long time up to this point. And whether he did, and I think a lot of the kind of the negative energy really was inherited from Voyager, I think, because the end of Voyager's run was quite poor. They were really struggling with ideas, and they were kind of really toiling to get to that season 7 and just putting out whatever they can. I think Enterprise is really hard done by, but at the same time, TV really was changing to a certain degree. You needed better story, you needed something different, and unfortunately, Star Trek just wasn't given that. Now, it will obviously change because Star Trek goes through very different iterations up until to where we are now. But yeah, I think it was really hard done by, and it's just actually kind of nice to see with the advent of Netflix and people just checking out the series overall, realizing, actually giving a proper appreciation for it in a way, and very much the case of, like, ruining what was left behind to a certain degree. But yes, that's the Expanse. That's our latest episode of Starship Enterprise done. And coming up next, then on this series, when it comes to conflicts, we're taking a bit of a break from the human conflicts in Star Trek, and we are actually breaking our rule in terms of having a one episode per series on an arc, because we kind of have to in this aspect of it, considering one series is very much based. The entire bedrock is based on the conflict between two races. I'm of course referring to Deep Space Nine. So Deep Space Nine obviously comes in the context of the Cardassian occupation of Bajor, which obviously has a lot of real world ramifications, which we will be discussing in the next episode, I'm sure, under a caveat of please don't fucking nuke us for speaking the truth. But what we are going to be talking about is Duet, the episode from the first season, which puts us kind of in the moderator of the arguments between a frustrated Bajor captain who previously reformed terrorist, and a Cardassian who wants to suffer the sins of his people. It's a fascinating episode. It perhaps stands as one of the best written episodes in Star Trek, and we will almost certainly be analysing it and digesting it in the next episode. So that's to look forward to as we slowly and quite excitingly ramp up the tension and excitement to the next few episodes of this arc. So yeah, that's what to look forward to in the next episode. But as ever, because I am the co-host of this show, and by substantially different levels of fame to the man beside me here, Jerry Soul, as this video is coming out, it's nearly time for Dublin Comic Con, and
Yes.
I can imagine you are very excited about what you've got lined up and in store.
Extremely excited. I get to interview two people of a show that I've just finished watching, which is What We Do in the Shadows, and I can't wait to interview the two of them. Their real names escape me right now, but I'm going to be interviewing Guillermo and Nandor from What We Do in the Shadows, so that's really, really exciting. We've also got four of the voice actors from Rick and Morty, including Chris Parnell. He's over as well. We have the lady who did the voice acting for Lady Dimitrescu, I think that's what it is. Dimitrescu from Resident Evil, and we have a couple of more guests as well. Plus, we have the cosplay competition, which, if anyone is interested in entering, it's going to be on Saturday at 3 p.m. Saturday at 3 p.m. On the weekend of Comic-Con, which I believe is the 15th, so Saturday 15th. So normally we do it on a Sunday. This year is going to be this particular con is going to be done on the Saturday. All details are on Dublin Comic Con, DublinComicCon.com, or any of the Dublin Comic Con social pages. We're really, really looking forward to it. We're going to have a few new things at the con. Me and my team that are going to be doing the cosplay competition. We're really doing our best to make sure that it's a seamless thing, that people are happy with it, that people are not waiting around, that we've had to do in the past, and not always our fault. I'll put my hands up and say a lot of it was my fault, still learning how to do these things, but we're hoping to streamline it, make sure that it is. So we've got prizes for first, second and third in 3 categories. We've got under 16s, over 16s, and the team category as well. We're also going to have trophies for the winners on the day, and they look absolutely beautiful, so I think people are going to be very happy with those. As I said, we have prizes for first, second and third. I won't get into it now, but we'll get into it closer to the time. And we just generally have our absolute usual madness of sets, stalls, artists, cosplayers, and grudged parents on the day having to spend all their money on the kids. So it is going to be a fantastic weekend. It is Paddy's weekend this year, so it's the 15th to 16th of March, leading into Paddy's Day on the Monday, and that's going to be amazing. Then in a couple of months after that, we will have the summer edition. So the summer edition is always the bigger ones. The spring one's kind of the smaller one, and summer edition is always the bigger one. So we're going to have bigger guests on. We're going to have more to do. We'll have the cosplay competition back again in August. We will more than likely, not 100% about this, we'll more than likely have the MyWaste.ie most sustainable category back in August. We don't have them for March, but we should have them for August. Then coming in November, we will have HorrorCon in Dublin in the National Show Centre out in Swords at the start of November. And then we have one more con to announce, but it's not getting announced yet, and I can't give any spoilers. So wait and see and watch this space for the newest con to hit Ireland. I can't say any more than that.
I know you're on the edge of your seat there. You know, yeah, unfortunately, you're.
I'm like, I want to tell you. I want to tell you. I want to tell you. I want to tell you.
I know,
but maybe I might talk to the bosses at Dublin Comic Con and say, can I make a video and tell the people where we're going to be? Please, pretty, please, pretty, please, 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 please.
You do have the face for it as well. Like, you know, you have that kind of like the photogenic face. Is like, come on, let's see what Jerry has to say. You know, like, yeah, I think you're very friendly. You know,
Jonathan, when's your next Specsavers appointment?
Sorry, who said that? Sorry, but I didn't quite see that, but I'm just gonna assume you waved hello. But yeah, see your background betrays you there because it just looks like this looks like a consolation's winking at me. But yeah, Dublin Comic Con is gonna be very soon as this goes out, so by all means check it out and look forward to all the various guests, especially very much Rick and Morty vibe. I have to say, but of course, with like again, I'm personally looking forward to your chat with Chris Parnell. I think you're gonna get fucking weeks of material out of him, to be honest with you. Your conversation with Kevin Novak and Harvey Guillen should be quite interesting as well, to say the least. Just imagine going so what's your favorite Matt Berry episode? Just there with Low, I think.
I'm going to try my best to make sure the conversation is steered exclusively around those and to not even mention Matt Berry, because he's such a
Beetlejuice room. I think that's the best way to do it. Like, don't if you mention him 3 times and the episode is over, he just shows up and starts getting
exactly. Now I am planning. I'm hoping to have a little surprise for both of the guys. I don't want to go into too much detail about it, just in case it doesn't happen, because it is going to be difficult to get. But I'm hoping to have a surprise for the 2 guys in the form of a video, not from Matt Berry or any of the other cast, but from somebody else, and. We will see if it pans out. If it pans out, great. If it doesn't, then I haven't actually spoiled anything. I haven't said anything. So the only person who will be disappointed will be me. So,
or if one of them just happens to be watching this episode and going, "Ooh, a surprise!"
Yeah,
that would be be quite impressive.
Watch, it'll be Guillermo. God damn
it! More than likely,
but we will see.
Exactly. But like, that's all to look forward to anyway. And like I said, there's plenty more cons on the way. So next time we have Jerry on the show, we'll certainly be getting a post-mortem on how the spring version of Dublin Comic Con went, and we'll be looking forward then to all the other cons that you'll be seeing this beautiful visage at over the next few months. But until then, guys, thank you all very much for watching this episode of Best of All Worlds. Hopefully you agree with our assessment of The Expanse from Star Trek Enterprise, but if you don't, by all means let us know below the line and see if you agree with our score of 83. Is it high or low, depending on your point of view? We'd love to hear from nonetheless. And by all means, give us ideas for new arcs, because we've only got 3 episodes left of this arc to do, and they're all heavy hitters, so we're going to need some inspiration for the next one. So by all means, let us know what you'd like us to review if we haven't already. You can in fact watch all of the Best of All Worlds episodes and get our thoughts on every single one that we have done. It's all on the playlist, it's all on the channel. Subscribe and click the bell and you will get all of the content that we do on this channel, including very much non-Star Trek stuff as well. We are quite of a hodgepodge of a channel here, so I'm sure we'll have something that is exactly just for you. But until then, guys, thank you all very much for joining us for this episode, and as we always do, we'll sign off with some very salient thoughts.